We all know what it's like to not understand something, and that can be really frustrating when it seems like something that is supposed to be helping us. Maybe that happens to you with your math teacher, and he taught you trying to help you with an equation, and you're confused even more. You knew it was supposed to be helpful, but you were super confused about how it would actually be helpful. Have you ever felt that way when it comes to your faith? Maybe you've learned something at church, or read something in the Bible, or even talked about something in your small group that seems like it's supposed to be more important to you. It seems like something that should help you grow in your faith or feel closer to God. But if you're honest, you're not really sure how that happens. If you're anything like me, then you've probably heard people talk about all kinds of different things that grow your faith. Things like prayer, or reading the Bible, or listening to worship music, or maybe coming to church every week, or talking to an older, wiser person in your life. We think growing in our faith means knowing more, being more, learning more, doing more. If we want to connect the dots in our faith, it seems there has to be more than there is right now. Some people think you can grow in your faith simply by going to church more, because the more you show up at church, the more you'll know about God, right? Can you really grow in your faith just by coming to the church building? Unfortunately, no. I mean, you didn't learn to swim just by watching how to swim on YouTube videos or pass the test just because you showed up at school. It doesn't work that way, does it? Just showing up to get information, that doesn't stick. And it doesn't make it stick either. So, if just showing up more and getting more information aren't the secrets to connecting the dots in your faith, then what will connect those dots? If God wants your faith to grow, how exactly do you do that? How exactly can you connect the dots with this whole faith thing? There's someone who can help us understand what it looks like to grow in our faith right now. And whether you're really excited about talking about growing in your faith, or you're not even sure if you want to, I think it's someone who can help you. And that is Jesus, because knowing Jesus changes everything. This particular event in Jesus' life that we're gonna look at today was recorded for us by a guy named Matthew. On this day, Jesus was with his friends and 12 disciples. A big group of people had gathered to hear what Jesus had to say. Like so many of us, they wanted to know how they could grow in their faith. They wanted Jesus to help them connect the dots. So Jesus went up on the side of a mountain to teach. What Jesus said actually became a famous teaching that people sometimes call the Sermon on the Mount. That's just a really fancy way to say that Jesus was teaching on the side of a mountain. What Jesus said is the most famous part, not just because it happened on a mountain, but because of what it was about. See, the entire message was all about how we can grow in our faith. And what Jesus said about the subject was kind of surprising to people, because just like us, they thought that growing deeper in faith was about what they knew about God. But it was about the information. But Jesus knew that when it comes to faith, it's not about what we know, it's about who we know. And at the end of the sermon, Jesus started talking about houses. While it sounds like random stuff, it was always a point when it came to Jesus and what he had to say. And this is what Jesus had to say. Okay, none of us probably knows all that much about building houses. So let's break this down really quick. Each house needs a foundation, which is placed directly on the ground for the house to be built on top of. The foundation is what keeps the house standing strong once it's built. So deciding to build a house on a rock as the foundation probably sounds like a good idea, right? Now, I don't know about you, but I definitely want the solid kind of faith. So how do we get it? Well, let's look back at how Jesus started his story. Check it out. Jesus said that the reason the house in his story made it through the storm wasn't because the people who built it had all the right information. It wasn't just about what they knew. The reason the house stood firm was also because the builders acted upon that knowledge. They actually built their house on a rock. They applied what they knew was good, wise, and right, and because they did, the house made it through that storm. And the same is true for our faith, because actions can grow your faith. Jesus said the key to growing a deep faith is in the doing. In other words, while it's important to learn and know about God, having a strong and deep faith requires more. We also have to put what we know into action. It's doing what we know God has called us to do, because actions can grow your faith. God wants your faith to grow. God wants to see you connect the dots and develop a deeper, stronger faith. And that means putting what you know into action, because actions can grow your faith. And I think we can start taking action by doing these things. The first step is learn. This is just the first step. If we want to connect the dots and grow in our faith, we have to start by knowing what God says about that. We have to know what God is asking us to do in order to actually do it, right? So start by learning what God asks people to do to grow their faith. Maybe you know nothing about this whole faith thing and you're here every single week. Regardless, one of the first things you can do is begin growing your faith is to simply learn what God says about what it means to be a Christian. This is a great conversation to have with your small group on Thursday. We created this so that everyone would have a place to discover what it means to have faith together. It's a chance to connect the dots in a deeper faith alongside other people. The second thing that you need to do is do it. Then just pick one thing that you learned and start putting that into practice in your life. Take action to grow your faith. Maybe it's treating other people the way that you want to be treated. Maybe it's spending time every day talking to God in prayer. Maybe it's memorizing a Bible verse so you can actually put it into practice in your life. Maybe it's serving someone in need in your community or at your school. These are all things God encourages us to do as we grow in our faith. So choose one and start doing it this week.